So I was kind of bored the other day and I ended up watching this show on Netflix called The Good Place. I don't know if you've seen it. Kristen Bell's in it. I think she's fun and interesting in some ways. Anyway, so I started watching it, and turns out what it's about is people who die and end up going to the good place. They end up going to heaven, and kind of what happens to them there. Now the theology is totally whacked. It's not a biblical view of salvation or anything like that. But I did find that in the very first episode, it's very interesting to me, because what happens is so Kristen Bell dies and she goes to the good place. She goes to heaven, and the storyline is that people end up going to the good place primarily based upon whether they've been good people, and the ones who go to the good place have been very good people in their lives. Their bad deeds don't outweigh their good deeds, and bad people go to the bad place. But there's a plot twist, and the plot twist is this: is that Kristen Bell realizes is that there's been a mistaken identity. So they've got her name right at the good place, but the life story is totally off. It's not her. She realizes she's not supposed to be there. There's been a mistake, and so she spends, I guess, the next couple of episodes, or maybe the whole storyline of the show is just simply that she's covering up from everyone there that she's not supposed to be there, and there's been some mistake so that she doesn't end up going to the bad place. And I found that interesting for a couple reasons. One is that I realized that that kind of theology is generally what people in America think. They think that if they're really good, they'll go to heaven, and if they're not so good, that they'll go to hell. Strangely, most people think they've been good enough to go to heaven, to go to the good place. Well, Kristen Bell knows that there's been a mistake. She knows she should not be in the good place, and she spends her time trying to cover that up. She doesn't want those that are in power to know. And I couldn't help but think about those of us that know Jesus and salvation through his blood and through his death, burial, and resurrection on the cross, and the grace that has come to us because of Jesus. So those of us who know Jesus and end up going to the good place, we end up going to heaven, we'll all realize that we're not supposed to be there. We'll all know that but for the grace of God, we wouldn't be there. And so I've been thinking about that the last couple of days. You know, our salvation is not something that we've merited. It's not something that we've deserved. I mean, that's what grace is. Grace is the unmerited favor of God. And so God has had mercy upon us. God has been gracious to us, though we don't deserve it. All of us who go to heaven will find ourselves there, knowing full well that there hasn't been a mistake. God knows that we didn't deserve to be there. But on purpose, God sent Christ to come after us and to love us and pursue us with his perfect life and his death, burial, and resurrection on the cross. And so the true gospel is such a beautiful story. No one goes to heaven based on their merit. It's totally a different theology than the show, The Good Place. No one, the Bible says, no one is good, not even one. It says all have fallen short of the glory of God. And none of us deserve his grace. But the love of God is that God sent Christ to redeem sinful human beings. And so my prayer is that if this is reaching someone that's not turned from their sin and place their faith in Jesus and his death on the cross and his resurrection to save them, to redeem them, that you will. It's my humble prayer that you would see the beauty of Jesus and realize that you need him. And so I pray that for you. I pray that God would open your eyes to that. Blessings.